Good evening. Welcome to this week's edition of the WayBack Movies podcast, a show where we review the best and not so best of 80s and 90s cinema, because really, fuck the 2000s. My name is Steve, and with me on this crazy journey,
Justin.
Doctor.
Doctor.
Yes, you may know from the music, it is Rocky month. We are covering every Rocky movie except for the 2000s one. I don't know if Creed counts, but
Creed counts.
We're going Rocky 1 to 5 this month.
So we will truly cover the best and not so best that Rocky has to offer.
Because, that's, well, we're still 5 weeks away from that, but we're going to rip that shit a new one.
We will get there.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yes,
like I said on the Die Hard episode, you may have noticed that, according to our format,
yes,
we do the best and not so best of the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So you're wondering, well, how can they do Rocky?
How can we do Rocky?
Well, we decided, before the show even began, that on months where there were 5 days, we'd like to reach way back into one more decade.
Like you do.
And that will be the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll notice on months that have 5 weeks, we will do at least one 70s movie because, let's face it, there's a lot of gold there.
Yeah, there's a lot of great and not so great 70s flicks, but, you know, we figured it's best to sort of keep the format to 80s and 90s. It's usually the easiest way to go, but occasionally, you know, we get to reach way the fuck back, and, I mean, we're already breaking our rule anyway, because, like, 3 of the rest of them are in the 80s, so we're already breaking format. So, but if we made the rules, we can break them too, so fuck it. And also because we really wanted to talk about Rocky. And after watching Rocky this week, we now know why.
Yeah.
We're basically going to be traveling back to the very, very, very far distance of December 3rd, 1976. To watch fucking Rocky, which is awesome. I don't know if the WayBack Machine is going to get us there. It's going to be scary. We've never gone this far back before.
Nope.
Fuck, maybe we should have tested this thing before we actually bought it. But we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't be us if we actually tested shit.
No,
so,
God no.
You know, we have to just hope we don't die. So, if you're hearing this, we survived the trip. So,
fingers crossed.
Yeah, alright, so here we go. We're jumping way the fuck back. Oh, God. Oh, I'm gonna be sick. Oh, that was too long. Too far. Oh, God.
We both have bell bottoms on.
Yeah.
What? My pants are so big.
Oh, Jesus. Why do I hear disco everywhere? I didn't know that was a thing. Can we go back to 2019 already? This is weird. Alright.
So, yes, Rocky.
The great Rocky. That is a movie that has the things in it, as I grab my notes. So, like I said, Rocky, released December 3rd, 1976, directed by John Avildsen. I have so much trouble saying that name, I don't know why. Avildson, Avildsen.
Huh?
It just, for some reason, my mouth does not want to make that happen. I'll let that sit there for a minute.
Phrasing.
Y'all can giggle, and we're okay.
Phrasing.
Written by Sylvester Stallone, produced by Irwin Walker and Robert Chartoff, distributed by Universal Artists, with a box office of $225 million.
That's a lot of dollar dues
money.
In 1970s dollar dues.
Against a budget of initially $1.1 million, and then was eventually expanded to $5.4 million once they realized there was actually money to be made here.
Yeah.
They beefed some money into the marketing. The marketing, by the way, seemed to cost about 4 times as much as the movie itself. Welcome to Hollywood, folks. Even then. Even now. The cast. Sylvester Stallone as Rocky Balboa. Talia Shire as Adrian Panino, which, no, she did not have a name at that time, or last name at that time. Burt Young as Paulie Panino, Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed, Burgess Meredith as Mickey Goldmill, Thayer David, I get Tayer or Thayer, I don't know, as George Jurgens, Joe Spinelli as Tony Gazzo, Tony Burton as Duke Evers, and Pedro Lovell as Spider Rico. That is pretty much the entire cast, by the way.
More or less.
There's not too many people in this film, weirdly enough.
Other than, like, Little Marie.
Yeah, Little Marie and Apollo's random guards, who had a much bigger role in the original script, but kind of got cut down. And one of them was Michael Dorn, of, Star Trek Next Generation fame. Worf. So, honestly, not much about the production, so I will just read what I got here. So, Stallone was inspired to write Rocky after seeing Muhammad Ali versus Chuck Wepner. Although, if you ask him, he'll say he did not. Because, so Wepner, like Rocky, was a relative unknown when he was offered the chance to fight the champ. He was TKO'd in the final seconds of the 15th round. So he almost went the distance, like Rocky himself. But of course, Wepner sued Stallone, and he was awarded an undisclosed sum because, basically, this is my life, what the fuck, dude, and $225 million is a lot of money. Sly denies copying his life at all. He said he was just inspired by watching it, not, he didn't copy it, but, I mean, I don't know who I believe. But,
well, here's the thing. He didn't follow this guy around. He didn't know that he fell in love with a girl at a pet shop.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
But, all he took was this unknown went 15 rounds with the champ, and that is literally where it begins and ends.
I agree, but at the same time, when the studio, not Stallone, because I think he did sue Stallone, which is like, wow, really? I think
you got to sue the guy who wrote it.
The studio should have been like, all right, well, Stallone should have came up front and been like, I got it from watching this guy fight, and it reminded me to do something. United Artists should have been like, all right, let's call this guy up and break him off some change before this becomes a thing, because that's what's going to happen, but they didn't. So legendarily, he wrote the screenplay in 3.5 days. But of course it went through 9 different rewrites after that, so not necessarily as impressive. So United Artists loved the script, because it basically... So what had happened was Stallone went into his agent and auditioned for some role. They didn't want him for that, and he's like, well, I also write. And he's like, oh yeah, you write? Nah, that's great, kid. And,
and based on how he talks, they're like, in what, crayons?
Yeah, you can't speak. How can you... Actually, he actually is because of Rocky. He actually sounds like this from too many punches in the face. But he's like, I got a script. Will you read it? I'm like, yeah, kid, sure. And he read it, and he's like, holy shit, this is actually good. So, United Artists loved it, and then but they actually wanted somebody more established to play Rocky.
Like, this is great, kid. You're not going to be Rocky.
No, because at this point in time, Stallone was broke. He was working as an usher for $35 a week.
Sold his dog, didn't he?
I'll get to that.
Yeah.
So they wanted Robert Redford to play Rocky. That would not have worked.
Pete's. No
fucking way.
No, sir. No, sir.
So basically, Rocky. I keep calling him fucking Rocky because really, that's all I know him as.
Let's
really,
be honest.
So Stallone basically was just like, either I play Rocky or I don't say the script. Yes, that's going to happen a lot. So just deal with it. He said he would never forgive himself if anyone else ever played Rocky. And he's right. Like, that's who should have played Rocky. He wrote it basically as himself, so why wouldn't he? They agreed to do it only if the budget stayed ridiculously low, which is where the $1.4 million.
That still sounds like a lot for, like, the mid-70s.
It's not. Although there were films being made for, like, hundreds of thousands at that point, but this was a more complicated script anyway, right? You gotta, like, rent out the halls and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. Like, and although, trust me, they did everything in their power to keep the budget down. It was expected to be filmed in Hollywood. That was their first thing. It was like, well, so you're going to film in Hollywood? He's like, no, you got to film in Philly. I'm like, well, no. Like, we're not paying for a fucking crew from Hollywood to go fly down to Philly and film the goddamn movie. So they basically somehow randomly found this non-union crew from New York and drove them in.
These fucking
these ragtag group of assholes.
I want to make that movie.
Yeah, really. That actually would work as a movie because, ironically, weirdly enough, do you know who their production manager was? Lloyd Kaufman of Troma fame, the man who created the Toxic Avenger.
It truly is a movie. Lloyd Kaufman and his crew going to film Rocky.
Mm-hmm.
Non-union.
Exactly. And they also shot everything guerrilla style. No permits, no security, nothing.
So him running down...
I'll get there.
Yeah.
So citizens would help. They would literally come in with, and be security. They would come in and stop people from walking through there.
Well, if you want security, you get people from Philadelphia.
Exactly. Also, let's see. I got to jump around because I was having trouble finding stuff, so I kind of had to... Piecemeal a little bit. So, the scene where Rocky, where Mickey walks away after he confronts Rocky about, being his manager, and Rocky basically tells him to go fuck himself. I have something about that later, but we'll get to that when we actually talk about the movie. But the scene where he's walking away and the train comes by and it's silent, the whenever you film outside, the best way, especially at night, the best way to film it is to wet the ground so it just looks more cinematic. They literally had all the people in the houses dumping buckets of water on the ground instead of having a truck
to make it look
just to make it look wet, because that's how it looks better on film when it's wet at night. Yeah. Every movie does it.
Well, I guess it glistens, right?
Yeah, every movie does it.
The lights hit the ground.
Exactly. If you look at any
makes the
movie,
scene pop more.
You look at any movie filmed at night, the ground is always wet. It just looks better. Also, I think there has something to do probably with the reflection of the lights without the water. I think it makes it look too light. So I think the wetness keeps it looking dark, so it doesn't, because you're lighting it. So I think the idea is if the ground is not wet or anything like that, it'll hold the light so it actually looks brighter out. And then it ends up looking like...
Man, the street lights on this street
it's
are
wow,
real
Jesus,
strong.
they're bright, So I think it keeps the ground looking dark. So, let's see. So, like you mentioned, when Stallone with his dog... Before selling his script, Stallone was so poor that he had to sell his dog. A week later, he sold the script, and then he bought the dog back. That dog was Butkus. The dog featured in the movie was his dog that he had to sell.
Which is why the dog loves him so much.
Exactly. Polly was originally supposed to be Adrian's Jewish mother, which would have made that much more interesting. That would have been weird.
Especially seeing we know where Polly goes. And...
Yeah. The second film to use what is called a Steadicam device created just before the filming of this, which basically makes it so that you can run it across any surface and it won't shake. It's just basically built to be flat. No matter where you're driving, you could literally shake this thing up and down, and this image will always stay perfectly straight, which is why they were able to do a lot of the running scenes and shit like that, because you can film it and it doesn't look like it's all herky-jerky like every other time you try to do that. So I thought that was kind of cool. So, during the running montage, like I said, remember how I said that they didn't have any security or anything like that?
Mm-hmm.
So the running montage that they did in the market, where he's running through the marketplace, none of those people are extras or anything. Those are just people. And you can see that they're looking at him, because they don't know what the fuck this weirdo's doing. Even that guy who throws him the orange was just a vendor, just throwing him an orange.
He's just like, this guy looks like he needs some citrus in his life. Here
and
you
literally,
go, bam!
And just threw him an orange.
And he caught it. And
and they threw it in the movie. That dude's got a part in a movie, and he didn't even know it.
Well, because you see this guy running, you see a fucking camera crew following him, backwards, well, either they're shooting a movie, they're shooting something, and let's all get in it. Hey, you go, man, go!
Pretty much. So the final fight scene, the choreographer could not make it look real. Just couldn't.
Yeah.
So he up and quit. What they did, because it does look pretty good, what they did was the director just went to Stallone and was just like, hey, you know what you want, right? Yeah. Go home and write it. Literally. Left here, right here, duck, block, jab, push him into the ropes, all that shit. Literally came back with a 300-page script the next day of here's what I want.
Which I think
and
in
they
the final
it.
film, you see, I think, the first 2 rounds, and then just bits and pieces of the rest of the fight.
It's the first 3 rounds. No, they actually broke it down. It's the first 3 rounds, then it skips to round 5.